Fluorescent lights hum while the monitor ticks its tiny green alphabet. The nurse slides a folded blue square into my palm as she adjusts the blanket. Her eyes meet mine, kind and businesslike. "For later," she murmurs, then busies herself with the IV pole. I open the paper under the sheet with my thumb. Block letters steady as a ruler. Ask for the ring. My birth plan, clipped to the clipboard, flutters when the door swings and settles. Somewhere nearby, ice chips clink in a cup. My husband rubs slow circles between my shoulders. His face is earnest, a little pale. I glance at his left hand, bare as always. No ring there. The note warms in my palm, small as a secret. My mother-in-law hovers near the chair, perfume soft and floral, a little insistent. On her wrist, a charm bracelet catches the light. Dangling from it, a tiny velvet pouch rests against her pulse. When my eyes land, her fingers cover it without thinking. Another contraction reaches for me. I breathe in for 4, out for 6, like we practiced. The nurse counts with me quietly, one hand on the rail, one on the monitor cord. She doesn't press, just stays close enough to be a shoreline. The obstetrician's voice drifts in, steady and practiced. "How are we doing?" she asks, washing her hands, the faucet a silver ribbon. "Good progress." She checks my chart, taps my birth plan with a clean finger, and nods approval. The room is bright and ordinary. The clock with its patient second hand, the whiteboard with our names, the pen clipped to a string. Yet the blue square in my fist makes everything tilt a degree. Ask for the ring. The words hum under the fluorescent buzz. I slide the note onto my thigh where the blanket tense, my wristband brushing it. My husband leans closer. "Water?" he asks. I sip, grateful for the cool, and swallow questions with the melt. My mother-in-law smooths her dress and watches the floor tiles as if they might answer something. The nurse adjusts my pillow and gives me a small nod, the kind that says, "You can ask for what you need." The contraction eases. The room breathes with me. The monitor steadies, a soft metronome of promise. I lift my eyes, keep my voice soft, palms open on the blanket. No rush, just truth. "What ring? What ring?" hangs in the antiseptic air. My husband's hand pauses mid-stroke on my shoulder. My mother-in-law's fingers fly to her throat, then to her wrist, where the tiny velvet pouch slips into her sleeve like a startled fish. "It's nothing," she says quickly. "Focus on the baby." The monitor keeps its steady beeping, small green footsteps across the screen. The nurse meets my eyes. I breathe in, breathe out. "What ring?" I ask again, gentler. My voice is calm. Color drains from her face as if someone tilted the picture. She sways, grabs at air, then drops into the chair with a thud that makes the pen on the tray jump. Her eyes flutter shut. The nurse's thumb taps the call button. The orange light above the door glows. Another nurse appears, rolling a blood pressure cuff from her pocket. "I've got her," she says, kneeling, loosening a scarf, lifting legs onto a second chair. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" My husband stares at a scuffed tile near his shoe, shoulders locked, breath shallow. "Hey," I say softly. No answer. The nurse beside me squeezes my forearm. "You're doing great," she murmurs, adjusting the monitor belt and setting a cup of water on the tray within reach. The obstetrician steps closer, calm as a metronome. She glances at the commotion, then focuses on me. "Baby's doing beautifully," she says, checking with gentle hands. "We're almost there." The room divides into 2 tasks, me and the baby, and the small circle around my mother-in-law. They sit her up, place a cool cloth on her brow, and offer a sip. Her lashes tremble. The velvet pouch peeks from her sleeve again, a shy secret at the edge of fabric. "Don't worry about us," the second nurse says. "Just breathe like before." I inhale for 4, exhale for 6, tracing the pattern on the blanket with a fingertip. The blue note under the sheet presses a corner against my thigh. The monitor chirps, steady as a lullaby with a spine. In the quiet, I decide not to back away from my own voice. My husband finally looks up, apology starting but stuck. I nod. There will be time to unstick it. Now the next wave gathers, and a small life leans toward us. The doctor's eyes meet mine, warm and clear. "One more push," she says, hand ready, voice like a handrail. "Now," the doctor says, and the room narrows to breath and effort. I bear down, eyes on a smudge on the ceiling tile, the nurse counting like a gentle drum. Heat, pressure, and then a bright, startling cry splits open the air. My body goes from work to wonder in a single breath. Warm weight lands on my chest, slippery and perfect. Damp hair mats against my skin. A searching mouth roots, patient and fierce as any small animal. The nurse tucks a warmed blanket around us and rubs the tiny back until the cry softens to a squeak. I smell soap, cotton, and something sweet and new. Beautiful. the doctor says in that practiced, pleased voice. She works quietly, then pats my knee. You did it. My husband's hand trembles on my shoulder. He tries a smile, but it stops just shy of his eyes, as if something inside is still holding its breath. Across the room, his mother is upright now, sipping water in small, careful swallows. Color hasn't fully returned, but her gaze is clear and fixed on the bundle on my chest. Her charm bracelet glints when she lowers the paper cup. The tiny velvet pouch rests against her wrist like a shadow. She doesn't speak. I don't either. Routine returns like a tide that knows the shore. The nurse checks our matching bands, clicks a fresh bracelet around a tiny ankle, and notes the time on the whiteboard. A camera waits on a wheeled cart, patient as a friend. The birth certificate worksheet sits on a clipboard, a capped ballpoint clipped neatly to the top. I kiss a damp forehead and whisper a name we practiced in the car, once, between stoplights. Fingers uncurl, astonishingly sure of themselves, and I count them for the pleasure of it. The blue note presses a corner against my thigh. With my free hand, I slide it under my pillow, a small blue boat moored for morning. My husband strokes our baby's hair, the frozen part of him thawing a little with each pass. The nurse adjusts the blinds. Afternoon softens into evening. We'll update visitor rules and circle back in the morning, she murmurs, smoothing the blanket and the whiteboard both. Lights dim to a gentler hum. The door hushes as people slip out, and the room settles into the quiet work of keeping three hearts steady together. The corridor hushes. The bassinet clicks against my bed as the nurse wheels the baby back from checks. She lowers the rail and lifts my swaddled bundle to my chest like a careful librarian returning a rare book. Skin to skin? She asks. I nod, and we undo the blanket together, warm against warm. My husband is folded into the visitor chair, a thin hospital blanket cocooning his knees. His phone lies face down on the tray, screen lighting and fading without sound. I smooth the little hat, then glance at the drawer where a blue note sleeps under tissues. I clear my throat. About the note, I say. The nurse's eyes lift, kind and steady. She keeps her voice low. I saw tension and a flash of something, an heirloom maybe. You get to ask for what you need. The monitor hums. Our names glow on the whiteboard. She uncaps a marker and writes the time, the pediatrician's rounds, and LC 9:30, then taps it. Lactation consultant in the morning. We'll go at your pace. She points to the call button, bright and reachable. Press if you want doors closed, lights lowered, or visitors limited. Limited? I whisper. My mother-in-law's perfume lingers on the air like the tail of a ribbon. The nurse nods. A patient advocate can formalize it. They'll help you choose words and post a sign so you don't have to manage it alone. She sets a glass of water and a wrapped granola bar within reach, then tucks the blanket around my elbows. Salt first, then sweet, she says with a small smile. The baby roots and finds me, a tug that steadies everything. I breathe, grateful for practical kindness. I watch my husband's chest rise and fall, the tiny crease between his eyebrows smoothing as the room settles. His hand slips from the armrest to touch my ankle, instinctive even in sleep. On his mother's abandoned chair, a paper cup sits half full, lip print like a pale petal. If anyone asks questions you don't want to answer tonight, you can say, "We'll talk tomorrow," the nurse offers. She writes that sentence on the corner of the board, simple as a recipe. I repeat it under my breath until it fits my mouth. Night holds us. The city dims. The note waits under my pillow. Morning thins the blinds. At 8, a soft knock. The patient advocate arrives. The patient advocate sits at the foot of my bed, pen poised. Tell me what would help you feel safe and respected. Her badge swings gently when she leans forward, the plastic tapping her clipboard. She reviews my chart, eyes pausing on a highlighted line. I see there was a fainting episode with your mother-in-law, she says, tone neutral, not prying. We can lower the temperature in the room, limit standing time, and if you prefer, limit visits. She slides a small placard from her folder. We can post this on your door. Resting, visitors by arrangement. The letters are soft gray on white, not scolding, just clear. I feel my shoulders release a notch. That would help, I say. She nods and uncaps her pen. Let's also give you phrases that fit your voice. On a notepad she writes, "We'll visit later." "We need quiet today." She underlines them, then pushes the pad toward me. Try them aloud. "We'll visit later." I practice, voice steady. "We need quiet today." The words feel like smooth stones in the pocket of a coat. My husband stirs in the chair, rubs his eyes and sits up. The advocate offers a handout titled Visitor Rights and Patient Choices. He reads, brow creasing, then smoothing. "We sign together," she says, placing a simple form on the tray table. We read the choices: visiting hours by arrangement, no unannounced drop-ins, staff to redirect visitors if needed. He picks up the pen. Yes, he says quietly, and we both sign. Do you want your mother-in-law here this morning? The advocate asks, voice gentle. I look at my baby's sleepy mouth, then at my husband. He gives a small nod for me to decide. This afternoon, I say. 1 hour. She notes the time window, prints neat letters on the whiteboard, and writes her name and cell number beneath. Text me if you want to adjust, she adds. Who else should be on the list? Lactation consultant, I say. Chaplain if requested. Family by text, invite only. She writes each item, then hangs the sign on the door with a clean strip of tape. The room feels more mine. Same walls, but kinder edges. The baby exhales a whispery sigh. A soft knock follows, and a calm face appears with a clipboard and a tidy tote. She steps in, door closing. Good morning, she says. Let's make feeding comfortable. We'll go at your pace, the lactation consultant says, arranging pillows like puzzle pieces. She lifts my elbow, slides a rolled towel under my wrist, and nods at the bassinet. When you're ready, we'll bring him to the table. I laugh softly. The table? She smiles. Your chest is the table. She settles the baby against me, shows me how to align nose to nipple, and waits. No rushing, just a steady presence. Chin first, she adds, touching her own jaw. The baby opens like a yawn and finds me. A warm tug pulls through my ribs like a silk thread. My shoulders drop an inch I didn't know I held. My husband stands beside the bed with a cup of water and a straw. Small sips, he says, voice quieter, more here. I drink and watch our son's ears wiggle with effort. The consultant's tote sits open on the chair, with pads and a folder with drawings. She shows me a page with simple sketches, circles and arrows that make sense even through fog. If you feel pinching, break the latch with your finger and try again, she says. We practice once, then again, until it feels less like guessing and more like learning a new knot. Between efforts, she offers words the way the night nurse did. For visitors, she says, try, not now, or we'll update you when we're ready. I repeat them, soft. My husband repeats after me, his tone gaining muscle with each phrase, like a song we remember. The baby sighs, milk drunk already, hands opening like little stars. I dab a droplet from his lip with a corner of the blanket. The consultant marks our whiteboard, good latch, and adds her initials. Helpline, she says, placing a small magnet on the bed rail. A simple number, a promise of a calm voice after hours. She tucks pads into the drawer. I slide the blue note beside the handouts, paper whispering against the folder. Not gone, just waiting for steadier legs. We practice burping, then swaddle, then a rest in the bassinet while she reviews hunger cues and how to avoid cracked skin. You're doing beautifully, she says, meaning all three of us. My husband exhales like he's been underwater. Afternoon sunlight stripes the sheets. My phone buzzes on the tray. Here, the advocate's knock follows, gentle as a metronome, and I meet my husband's eyes now. My mother-in-law sits in the visitor chair, eyes fixed on my hand as if something invisible should already be there. Afternoon light makes stripes across the blanket. The patient advocate stands near the sink, unobtrusive, hands folded around a clipboard. A hospital water pitcher sweats on the tray beside papers. My mother-in-law reaches into her purse, touches her bracelet, then unclasps a tiny velvet pouch and sets it on the tray table like a treaty. This belongs to our firstborn's wife, she says softly. My mother-in-law gave it to me when my son was born, but things were complicated then. She eases the drawstrings open. Inside, a gold band lies on a square of tissue, simple and old, engraved with tiny vines and 2 sets of initials. It catches the light. My husband doesn't move. He folds his hands in his lap, thumbs pressed white, and stares at the ring as if it might start speaking for him. Mom, he starts, then stops. His mouth opens, closes. The monitor near my bed ticks on, steady and unconcerned. Our baby makes a brief, squeaky sound in the bassinet, and then settles again, lips parted, milk-sweet breath feathering the blanket. It's to bless the baby, she says, voice thin but sincere. That's how we did it. She looks at me finally, not past me, not through me. There is hope in her face and fear tucked right beside it. I glance at the advocate. She gives the smallest nod, the you are in charge kind we practiced this morning. I shift my shoulders and sink deeper into the pillows, feeling for my voice the way you feel for a light switch in a familiar room. Thank you for bringing it, I say. The words are true. Also true, my heart beats harder, not from danger but from the weight of meaning. The blue note rests in the bedside drawer with hospital handouts, its corners squared against cardboard. My mother-in-law slides the ring closer, but doesn't push it into my hand. We should have done this earlier, she whispers. I was waiting to be sure. My husband swallows and stares at a scuff on the floor tile, as if the right sentence might be written there. He clears his throat. Could we have a minute? He asks, not unkind. The advocate reads the cue, smiles once, and steps into the hallway, pulling the door quietly too. Grandma told me the ring unlocked the trust for our first child, my husband says, voice low. But Mom, he sits at the kitchen table like someone stepping across an attic beam, testing each word. Steam curls from his mug, and a teaspoon trembles against the saucer each time he sets it down. She gave the ring to Mom when I was born, he says. Said it was a welcome to the family and a promise. He nods toward the hallway, as if the past might appear there carrying a velvet box. When your son marries for love, pass it to her at the birth of their first child, he recites. Careful with the phrasing, as if a misquote might undo it. That's how Grandma put it, like a blessing you have to open at the right time. I trace a circle on the damp ring his mug leaves, listening. The house hums, the refrigerator kicking on, a quiet witness. Mom kept it, he adds. She said the marriage needed to prove itself first. Not a test, exactly. More like she thought waiting would make it safer. He looks at me, apology mixed with loyalty. He breathes in. And there's the trust. Grandma talked about a college fund, maybe more. Something tied to proof. Photos of the ring with the newborn so no one could argue later. He shakes his head. I don't know if that's real or just family myth. Do we have anything in writing? I ask. A trust document? A letter? Even an old email? I slide my notebook closer and click my pen. The tiny sound neat and encouraging. I've never seen anything official, he says. Mom said there was a letter. Her lawyer knew about it, or the bank, I can't remember. He rubs the bridge of his nose. It's all stories I heard at holidays. Let's ask, I say gently. A copy would help us both breathe. I watch him unlock his phone. His thumbs hover, then begin the small, brave work of typing. Rain taps the window. The kettle clicks off. His phone buzzes against the table, a quick shiver. It's a photo, slightly skewed, of looping cursive on yellowed paper. My mother-in-law's text follows. It's hard to read in a photo. I'll bring the original. He angles the screen toward me. The ink swirls but blurs, like a river seen through rain. I set 2 clean folders by his elbow and move a stack of mail aside, making space for whatever arrives next. The phone buzzes again, a softer chime, and we both look up. The birth certificate worksheet waits on the tray, and next to Mother's name, a blank line seems to glow. I feel the tug of a pen in my fingers like a small anchor. Our son sleeps, hat slightly askew, one hand uncurling over the edge of the bassinet. We'll do it together, my husband says. I write my name, then his, the date, the address we know by heart. He reaches into the overnight bag. The zipper whispers open. He lays our IDs on the tray, edges neat, as if tidiness could bless this moment. The nurse taps lightly and glides in with a small kit. Footprints time, she smiles. She opens the ink pads, the lids clicking like gentle castanets, and warms our son's feet in her palms. He settles. Tiny arches press into blue ink, then onto paper. Perfect tulip shapes. I sign one more line. Bracelet numbers match. She nods and initials. A soft knock. My mother-in-law steps in, coat folded over her arm, a plastic sleeve held like a relic. I came as soon as I found it, she says, voice careful. The sleeve clouds with her breath. Inside lies a single page, cursive faded to the color of tea, the edges worn thin where fingers have visited. My husband slides the page onto the tray and smooths it with 2 fingers. We read aloud in turns, slow. A ring to welcome any woman who loves our boy, it begins. Pass it when their first child is born. Then, plainer, there is a fund at the bank to help with learning, for children to come. Steward it with love. No mention of photographs. No test but time and care. His shoulders drop. A breath he's been holding leaving his body. I meet his mother's eyes. Her mouth tightens, then softens. I remembered it more strictly, she says, looking toward the window. I wanted to be a good guard. You were, I say. And now we can be together. We'll rest, I add, sliding the letter back into its sleeve. Then we'll ask the bank to confirm everything. The nurse nods, jotting the bank's name on the whiteboard. My husband sets a reminder on his phone. It buzzes once and goes quiet. The bassinet's wheels squeak as we shift. Papers stacked, hats straightened. We begin the slow, smooth roll toward the door, saving our questions for morning. We cross our threshold to a living room of flowers, casseroles, and a hand-lettered banner from the neighbors. Welcome, little one. The air smells like laundry and basil. I tuck my scarf on the hook, and the baby's car seat clicks as my husband sets it gently on the rug. We ease him out, whispering apologies to his sleep. The bassinet fits near the couch, the wheels nudging the rug edge. Just so. He hiccups once, fists rising like two small kites, then settles. On the coffee table, a stack of envelopes leans against a casserole wrapped in foil. I open a card with a watercolor moon and a gift card tucked inside, the corners rounded. For late-night snacks, someone wrote. I slide it under the tray beside the pacifier. My husband lifts the velvet pouch from his coat pocket and sets it on the mantel, between a jar of tulips and a framed photo from our wedding. It looks less like a secret here, more like a promise. We don't open it. We let it rest. I wipe down the changing table with a damp cloth that smells faintly of lemon. Diapers go into the woven basket, wipes to the left, creams lined up like little soldiers. A knit hat waits on the corner. This choreography steadies my hands. There's a soft tap at the door, just 2 notes. Our next-door neighbor, May, stands holding a lidded pot and a folded note. Soup, she whispers. She kisses the air near my cheek, admires the bassinet from a distance, and slips away as if she never touched the floor. When the room is quiet again, I notice the old house folder where we keep the mortgage papers. It sits under the TV remote, a little puffed from years of being opened and closed. I pull it close and flip past tax statements. The home inspection, our scribbled moving checklist. There, taped to a page from his grandmother's estate, is a small key. The bank branch is stamped faintly in blue beneath it, almost shy. I look up. He's already watching me. We'll check tomorrow, I say. I text his mother and his aunt. Bank appointment tomorrow? A bubble appears. Then his aunt's reply blooms. I'll call Mr. Hale, the family lawyer. My husband nods, setting a reminder on his phone. The baby yawns, crumpling like paper, and the house exhales. Your grandmother was a soft woman with a steel core, Auntie says over speakerphone. She used rings to say what words couldn't. I set the phone on a dish towel so the sound carries. The soup May brought warms on low, the lid breathing gentle little clouds. Our son sleeps, one sock half off. She believed blessings were for opening doors, not locking them. Aunt continues. I hear the clink of her bracelets. That ring was a welcome, a way to say you're ours. Come in. My husband leans forward, elbows on knees. Mom said it protected the family, he murmurs. It did, by softening it, Aunt says. Your parents' marriage was hard, sweetheart. Everyone felt the weather inside that house. Your grandmother wanted the next generation wrapped in different air. I glance at the mantel where the velvet pouch rests. The tulips nod as the heater sighs. She left a letter, I say. We read it at the hospital. There was another note, Aunt replies. Look in the recipe book, green cloth cover, gravy stains. She slipped a card between the gingerbread and the pickles. It said the fund was for education without strings. My husband looks toward the kitchen bookshelf. I know that book, he says. It smells like cinnamon. She kept receipts too, Aunt adds. Your uncle teased her for saving everything. The safe deposit box might hold an appraisal for the ring and the bank papers. Take a photo of everything, front and back. Don't rely on memory. I reach for a pen and our notepad. Recipe book green. Safe deposit contents photograph, I write. The words steady me like rails. We don't want to put your mother on trial, Aunt says gently. She carried hurts that made her grip tight. Bring light, not fire. Your grandmother would want that. We will, I say. The soup lid taps. I lower the flame. My husband squeezes my knee, eyes damp but clear. Calendars open. We compare tomorrow's hours. The bank slot lands at 10. Mr. Hale texts a confirm for 11:30. Stop by with whatever you find. I snap a screenshot and tuck it into our shared album labeled Ring. We've got a plan, I answer. I plug in my phone, slide the notepad into the diaper bag, and turn off the stove. The house settles. The baby sighs, the banner shivers, and morning begins to feel close. We make a checklist on a sticky note. Key, pouch, letter, IDs, camera phone, diaper bag, snacks. The pen scratches softly, a reassuring little insect. Our son sleeps in the bassinet by the bed, tiny fists lifted like small flags of surrender. I smooth the blanket at his feet and stick the note to the front door where we can't miss it. We pack a canvas tote by the lamplight. The folder slides in first, then the velvet pouch, then the letter in its plastic sleeve, edges whispering. I add 2 water bottles and a small bag of almonds. He fetches the safe deposit key from the estate page, easing the old tape free. We rest it in a coin envelope so it won't get lost. At the desk, my husband writes Mr. Hale's address on the envelope in his careful, blocky hand. I slip the nurse's blue note, ask for the ring. Next to the letter, an odd talisman that feels exactly right. Our IDs go in the outer pocket. The phone chargers follow. We set 2 alarms, 10 minutes apart, and lay clean shirts over the chair. The tote waits by the door like a well-behaved dog. Night comes in pieces. A soft cry, a diaper, a warm latch, a pat-pat on a tiny back. I drink a glass of milk in the kitchen, the refrigerator humming like a distant fairy. He rinses the bottle, sets it upside down on a towel, and rubs his eyes with the heel of his hand. We trade the baby between us, a relay run without hurry. Between wakings, I think of Grandma's ring in its dark pouch. Vines are engraved around it. I picture them circling our child not as a fence to keep people out, but as a hedge that keeps warmth in. Love as stewardship, not proof. The thought loosens my shoulders. Down the hall, the banner rustles once, as if remembering the day. Morning arrives neatly. Coffee steams, shoes find feet. The sticky note earns a final glance and a nod. The tote swings from his shoulder. The envelope clicks shut in my purse. We step into the chill with our breath puffing little clouds and the key warm through paper. The bank's lobby is quiet, carpet soft underfoot. I set the key on the counter beside our appointment card and let the stillness settle us. The door hushes closed. The banker turns the key. The metal drawer slides out with a soft, authoritative scrape. He lifts it to a small table in a private viewing room, walls the color of quiet. Our son sleeps in his carrier at my feet, a knitted hat tipping one ear. "Take your time," the banker says, voice even. He sets a felt mat down and steps back just enough to give us air without leaving us guessing. We slide the lid. Inside, paper and history greet us with a dry linen smell. I place each item on the mat. An appraisal certificate on cream paper with a gold seal, edges crisp. A photocopy of Grandma's letter, the same looping hand we saw at the hospital. A bank ledger card, dates neatly stacked in blue-black ink. A tiny velvet bag, a twin to ours, its drawstring slightly frayed. And a sun-faded Polaroid of a younger woman holding a newborn, my husband, while the ring glints on his mother's finger like a small sunrise. My husband exhales. He touches the edge of the photo without smudging it. The baby murmurs, then settles. The banker leans in just enough to see. The appraisal is current to the year it was filed, he explains, tapping the seal with a capped pen. We can update it later if you like. As for the fund, he lifts the ledger card. This is the original account record. It lists deposits and the terms. It's payable to descendants for education-related expenses. No performance conditions. No proofs required. Photos? I ask, glancing at the Polaroid. Tradition in many families, he says, kind. Not a condition. The account instructions are clear. Intended use, authorized signers, and a note about the ring as a symbol of welcome. We can print you a summary. He steps out, returns with copies clipped neatly, and a bright inked stamp marking them as duplicates. The printer hums down the hall, then stills. If you'd like, he adds, we can notarize a letter of intent for your child's file, something that affirms how you plan to steward the fund. We'd appreciate the summary today, I say. And we may write a letter after we've spoken with our attorney. Of course. He slides a manila envelope across. Take photos of everything as well. We do. Angles careful, glare avoided. Auntie's advice in my ear. We sign for the copies, gather the papers, and tuck the velvet bag back into the drawer. Outside, the street lightens. 2 blocks. Mr. Hale's name waits on a brass plate, and we turn our steps that way. Mr. Hale's office smells of lemon oil and old books. He gestures us to a round table. Let's put feelings aside and look at the paper, he says even. I set the manila envelope between us. Our baby sleeps in his carrier by my foot, a knit hat bobbing. My husband straightens the stack, palms flat like smoothing a cloth. Mr. Hale slips on reading glasses and lifts the letter. He reads in a steady tenor, stopping to tap the margin. Blessings without strings, he repeats. Education, welcome, stewardship. He flips to the photocopy from the box, nodding at the match. This is the same language you saw at the hospital. Purpose plain, no hurdles. In English, please. My husband half smiles. In English, Mr. Hale answers, smiling back. Your grandmother meant help, not hoops. He dials the fund administrator and introduces himself, then us. We hear typing on the other end. A faint clack. Yes, he says, education expenses. Tuition, books, supplies, direct payment to schools or reimbursement with receipts. He slides me a sticky note for our son's full name. Please add the newborn as a beneficiary, he continues. After a pause, confirmed. I'll email the updated list. He hangs up and writes the case number on our copy. The ring, he says, looking gently to me, is personal property. The letter makes it clear. Intended as a gift to the firstborn's spouse at the first birth. No legal tie to the fund, no bank gatekeeping, no tests. Tradition can be honored without turning into a rule book. He opens a leather folder. Here's what I recommend. Draft a family note, simple, witnessed, notarized. It records that the ring transfers today according to your grandmother's wish, and that you intend to steward the fund for learning. Memory can be slippery. This steadies it. He points to a neat blank where names would go. We can notarize this afternoon. My husband's shoulders loosen. Mr. Hale's tone softens further. Invite your mother kindly, he says. Shame never healed anyone. Let her see there is room for her without guardianship. I nod. Soup and bread, I say. Plain talk. He nods, understanding. He pencils us in for 4, stamps our copies, and walks us to the door. On the sidewalk, I text. Come tonight for simple supper and a talk. The phone buzzes. We turn toward home, already making a short grocery list together. I text my mother-in-law. We'd like to talk over soup tonight. We'll listen first. 3 dots blink, disappear, return, and finally resolve. I'll come. I set the phone face down and rinse carrots. The knife finds a rhythm against the board, steady and small. On the stove, onions soften in olive oil, sweet and familiar, and the pot begins to hum. Our son dozes in the bouncer by the doorway, one sock inching loose, the gentle sway calming us all. My husband unfolds a linen runner and smooths it with his palm. He sets bowls and spoons, fills water glasses, and places the velvet pouch in the center, not hidden, not aggressive, just present. We silence alerts except for her name. Bread cools on the cutting board, a clean serrated knife beside it, crumbs waiting like confetti. I slice celery and add it to the pot. The broth lifts a comforting steam. He lights a small lamp by the bookshelf, turning the room to amber. We move without explaining, like dancers who remember the steps from practice. Interruptions minimized. The dishwasher off, the doorbell volume low, a towel ready for spills. A soft knock. He opens the door. She stands with a paper bag folded at the top, cheeks pink from the evening air. Apples, she says, and then, almost shy, and honey cake. We trade the bag for a cardigan on the hook. She places the apples in the bowl and sets the cake on the board. Her hands shake a little as she lifts the knife. The first slice falls clean, fragrant with spice and warmth. I haven't made this since... She trails off and steadies the plate. I pour soup into 3 bowls, the ladle dipping and returning like a tide. She glances at the pouch, then at me. I meet her eyes and nod toward the table. We're glad you're here, I say. We meant what we texted. We'll listen first. We take our seats. The baby sighs, then settles again. Steam rises between us, softening everything. My husband breaks the bread and offers her the first piece. I set a napkin by her spoon, then fold my hands in my lap to keep them from fidgeting. Take your time, I add, gentler than a whisper. Begin wherever feels right. She picks up the napkin and smooths it, then folds and refolds, corners meeting, then separating, her gaze on the quiet swirl of the soup. She draws in a breath, searching for words. She smooths the napkin once more, then lifts her eyes. I married a man who loved work more than me, she begins, and a mother-in-law who loved rules more than either. The spoon in her bowl settles with a small clink. Steam rises and disappears. I watch the driveway, she says. I learned the way headlights paint the ceiling when it's past midnight. A tired smile. He was kind when present, but mostly he wasn't. I kept dinner warm until taste went with the heat. She swallows. Your grandmother was neat, exact. She folded linens to an inch and called it love. She offered me the ring as a welcome, and I took it like a verdict. Her fingers worry the folded napkin. I was the daughter-in-law who couldn't make her son stay. When it flashed, I heard a score kept. She touches her throat. After he died, I promised I'd hold it until I knew love could last for you. Then I'd pass it safely. Her mouth twists. Instead, I built a little wall and named it care. It was fear. She looks at me squarely. Afraid you'd repeat us. Afraid of losing proof we were still good. Afraid of being the woman who didn't guard the last thing I could hold. The radiator ticks. The baby sighs in his bouncer, then settles. My husband's eyes glass. Did holding it help? I ask. No, she says, honest and small. It made me small. I shrank to fit the rule. It didn't protect anyone. She sets down her spoon and covers her eyes for a breath, then lowers her hands flat on the table. I'm sorry, she says. Not dramatic, simply true. My husband reaches across and threads his fingers through hers. The room seems to unclench with them. She turns to our son, mittened fist drifting like a cloud. He deserves bigger, she says. Bigger than my fear. Bigger than someone else's rules. She reaches for the velvet pouch and slides it across the runner. The drawstring whispers against linen. I lay my hand over it, warm through cloth. We'll keep love at the center, I say. My husband nods, gratitude and ache braided. His mother nods, shoulders loosening. I lift the pouch so it rests between all 3 of us. Our fingers find the drawstring. The letter waits beside bowls, ready to be read aloud. line by line. We place the ring between us, not on a pedestal, not in a hiding place. The linen runner holds the little circle like a quiet moon, steady tonight. Bowls are pushed back, spoons resting, napkins folded in calm triangles. I take Grandma's letter from its sleeve. The paper crackles softly, edges thin as petals. We read it aloud, trading sentences. The inked loops steady our breathing. Blessings without strings. Welcome with open hands. Stewardship, not proof. My husband pulls a notepad toward him and uncaps his pen. He writes slowly, date at the top, then the sentence we agreed to use. Today, with joy, Mom gives the ring to my wife to welcome our child, as Grandma intended. He looks to us and reads it again, voice warm. We sign at the bottom, 3 names in a row. He writes our addresses beneath, neat and square. My mother-in-law adds the time, her hands steadier now. I slide our IDs to the corner, ready for the next step. Mr. Hale's notary answers our video call on the first ring. Her face appears. She asks us to hold our IDs to the camera, spells our names, and has us affirm the note is ours. I witness and notarize, she says. Soon my phone chimes with an email titled, Stamped Copy. I forward it to both and save it in our folder. The moment has waited long enough. I lift the ring and slip it on. It settles as if it knew the way. Not a test, not a ticket, only a welcome, and a promise to care for what it points to. My mother-in-law reaches across and touches my hand. Tears rise unashamed. Looks right, she whispers. The baby hiccups like a tiny metronome, startles and then blinks at us. We laugh, startled too, and the room lightens. We take photos of the note and the letter, front and back, and tuck the originals into the folder. The velvet pouch goes beside the fruit bowl, retired from duty. I breathe in the honey and soup and feel the heaviness ease. We'll mark this, I say softly. A simple blessing at the community center. Bread, tea, a short thank you, no demands. They nod. We open the calendar, look at the week, and choose a gentle afternoon. My phone buzzes with tomorrow's reminders, and I make a note to call the center in the morning. Let's write our own practice, I suggest. If we bless to open, not to bind. The pen waits above the notepad, tip shining in the lamplight. Our son squeaks in his bouncer, then sighs back to sleep. We title the page, Blessing Plan. My husband draws a small box for each piece. I list, Community Center Hall, Maple Tree Photo, letters for the keepsake box. The ring winks on my hand when I jot the date. We'll keep it simple, he says. Warm, short, and clear. Agreed, I say. Names spoken, thanks given, no scripts that trap. My mother-in-law leans closer, palms flat on the table. Where can I put my love? She asks. Her eyes are steady now. Bring your honey cake, I answer, smiling. And a scrapbook page of Grandma's recipes. The gingerbread, the pickles, the little notes about stirring clockwise. She nods, already picturing where it will go. We take a photo under the maple. My husband adds. Same place we took engagement pictures. He taps his phone. Weather says mild on Sunday. And we write letters to him, I say, touching the envelope box on the shelf. One from each of us. Dated, folded, placed in the keepsake box with the hospital bracelet. The blue note from the nurse peeks from the folder. I tuck it beside the new plan. He looks at his mother and smiles. No strings, he says softly. Only stories, she repeats, and breathes easier. We make a guest list that fits on an index card. Auntie, the neighbors who left the banner, 2 old friends who feel like siblings. We leave space for anyone who needs a chair at the last minute. I add print fund summary and email copies so myths don't grow back in shadows. The printer light blinks. I feed paper and watch the first page slide out, crisp and plain. Everyone gets the same packet, I say. Letter, summary, contact at the bank. Transparent is kind, my husband answers. I open my messages and type. Are you free Sunday afternoon for a simple blessing? The community room, tea and cake. Our celebrant replies within minutes, cheerful and brief. Yes, 3 p.m. works. I can bring a short outline. I save the attachment, feel the phone's soft buzz settle my nerves, and set a reminder to call the center when it opens. Tomorrow morning, folding chairs clack open. Sunlight spills through the high windows. The maple tree's leaves tremble outside like green lace. The community center smells of wood polish and coffee brewing somewhere down the hall. I run a palm over the white cloth on the long table, smoothing ripples until the fabric lies calm. We make a small altar of truth. The ring box, our velvet pouch tucked inside, goes to the left. I wear the ring on my hand. The box holds its story. Beside it, Grandma's letter rests in its sleeve. I set a neatly clipped copy of the fund summary next to it, simple and legible. The keepsake box opens like a tiny trunk, envelopes stacked inside, each with a blank card and today's date. A disposable camera sits ready, its plastic wheel clicking when I test it. My husband adjusts rows of chairs so elders won't have to climb steps. He tapes down a corner of the runner so no one trips. Maple photo after, he reminds me, pointing toward the swaying leaves beyond the glass. I nod and slip a pen into the keepsake box for the letters we'll write. My mother-in-law arrives with her honey cake and that careful expression she wears when tenderness is near. She sets the cake down like an offering and opens a scrapbook to a grease-stained page titled Grandma's Honey Cake. Notes in the margins. Stir clockwise. Don't rush the cooling. She places it so anyone passing can read and remember. Auntie comes in with a mason jar of grocery daisies and an extra roll of tape. For cheer, she says, setting the jar where the sun catches the petals. She hands me napkins and pats the keepsake box as if it were a sleeping cat. We trade a quiet smile, hands busy, heart steadying. Our celebrant arrives with a canvas tote and a paper-clipped outline. Names, gratitude, hopes. Short and warm, she says, scanning the table. You've done the heart work already. She tests the small microphone, then decides we won't need it. The room feels intimate. We step back to see it all together. Chairs ready, table set, cake waiting, camera primed, papers in order. The door opens and friendly voices drift in. Neighbors with casseroles, 2 coworkers with a bag of oranges, Auntie's partner with extra forks. Near the entrance stands the nurse who wrote the blue note, invited with a handwritten card. She smiles and waves, a guardian angel in comfortable shoes, and the room begins to fill. Our celebrant raises her hands. We are here to name, to bless, and to promise what is ours to promise, she says, voice warm as bread. The high windows glow, and the maple leaves tremble like a quiet choir. Someone opens a side door, and warm air mixes with coffee and polish. We speak our child's name together. I say each syllable slowly. Friends and neighbors echo it back. The sound lands soft. My husband lifts the blanket's edge so our son can feel the air, and he snuffles once, unimpressed and perfect. We share hopes. May your courage be gentle, I offer. My husband adds, may you find curiosity and rest in equal measure. My mother-in-law steps close. She covers my wrist, guides my ringed hand to rest on the baby's blanket, and whispers, may you feel wanted every day. The room breathes with her. Auntie squeezes my shoulder. Steady now. The nurse clears her throat and reads a short poem about making room. Wide tables, extra chairs, doors opened on windy days. Chairs creak as people lean in. The daisies on the table nod. Someone turns the disposable camera's wheel, and a click answers the last line. We pass the keepsake box. Guests write notes and tuck them into envelopes stamped with today's date. For 12, one reads. For 16, another. For when you don't make the team. For when you do. Pens scratch, paper whispers, and the box fills with folded kindness. We slip outside under the maple. The breeze lifts the edge of the blanket. The leaves make lace on the grass. Photos happen quickly. Couples, cousins, then all of us together. Sunlight catches my ring once. A wink that feels like Grandma saying, there you are. The camera clicks. Small lightning without thunder. Back inside, cake is cut. Honey and spice rise like a hymn. We pour tea into mugs, pass plates, laugh at the baby's dramatic yawn. Stories bloom. The day the banner was painted. The recipe Grandma corrected in pencil. The time my husband fell asleep under this very tree. When crumbs scatter and the last photo's done, we tidy. Chairs fold. Cloth lifts. The scrapbook closes with a soft sigh. We tuck the letter, the signed note, and the ring box into our tote. The keepsake box rides snug in the stroller basket as we step into the soft light and walk home. At home, I set the nurse's note on the counter and write, thank you for letting me ask a brave question. My pen glides, and I tuck a small maple photo inside the card. We make a little post office at the kitchen table. 2 mugs of tea steam beside us. Envelopes stack left, stamps right. The printer warms and sighs, feeding out copies of the note we signed about the ring, the notary seal crisp as a coin. The nurse's card comes first. I tell her that her quiet line, ask for the ring, opened a window when the room felt tight. I add the maple picture, write our contact number, and seal it with a kiss of breath before pressing the stamp. Next, the patient advocate gets a note for her calm visit on discharge day, and the banker for his kind, careful explanations. I thank him for naming photos a tradition, not a cage. I include the notarized note so their files mirror ours. Mr. Hale's card holds gratitude for fairness that felt like kindness, and for dialing the fund office while our baby slept between us. I copy his phrase, help, not hoops, because plain words belong in families. I slide in a maple photo and our sign note. For our celebrant, I write about the warmth she brought to the room, the way she kept it short and true. I include a candid of the cake table and thank her for reminding us that we had already done the heart work. Across from me, my husband opens his laptop. Subject: for records and peace. He attaches the fund summary, adds the contact at the bank, and writes, sharing so no one has to guess. Questions welcome. He copies Auntie and his mother and schedules a few printed packets for those who like paper. The house is the good kind of quiet. The dishwasher hums. The baby sleeps with a fuzzy lamb tucked near his cheek, and a draft lifts the banner slightly. I lick the last stamp, press it down, and line the envelopes by the door. A calendar ping breaks the hush. The counseling appointment we booked when we were pregnant. We look at each other and nod. Even in a gentle week, practice helps. He taps confirm. I fold a clean blanket over the couch arm and check the diaper bag, thinking of tomorrow's small, brave work. The counselor leans forward. When you froze, what were you protecting? Her office is soft with lamplight and quiet plants, a tissue box centered like a small promise. Our neighbor May has the baby for an hour. My shoulders drop at the thought. He rubs his palms on his knees. I was protecting my mom from breaking in the delivery room, he says, eyes wet. And I was trying not to fail my wife at the same time. I felt split. The counselor nods and turns her notepad, drawing a triangle. She labels the corners. Mom, wife, self. All three matter, she says. And you get one body. She looks to me. How did his silence land? I pick at a thread on my sleeve and tell the truth. It felt like distance, not betrayal, absence. I felt alone with a big ask, and I didn't want to be the only adult in the room. The counselor writes, alone, near my corner. Let's practice a way to keep everyone human. She sets her pen down. Try this out loud. I feel torn. I choose us. I need a minute to ground. My husband breathes in and says it, voice shaky but present. She holds up a hand. Now add a pause plan. What does grounding look like for you? He answers, 2 deep breaths, a sip of water, step to the hallway, then come back. I add, and I'll say, I hear you. I'm here. Take your minute. We rehearse. He looks at me and says the line again, steadier. I answer with mine. The room loosens. He turns to me. I'm sorry I went quiet when you needed me to speak, he says. I left you to hold it, and that wasn't fair. Something unclenches in my chest. Thank you, I say. That lands. The ring on my hand catches a thread of light, like a small yes. We set small tools. If he touches my shoulder twice, it means pause, not retreat. If I feel urgency rising, I will name it and ask, can we step out together? The counselor adds, repair within 24 hours, and circles the note. She gives us a copy of the triangle, folded for a wallet. At the desk, we book our next session. Bring the triangle to real life, she smiles. In the hallway, we decide to call his mother to share what we're practicing and ask how we can support her too. The counselor offers a short list of grief-friendly therapists we can pass along. Outside, I text to schedule a check-in for tomorrow evening and wait for the dots to appear. We sit at the kitchen table with the phone on speaker, the keepsake box nearby like a small chest of promises. 2 mugs leave round marks on the wood. The late light turns the runner gold. Mom, my husband says, I want to tell you what I learned about freezing. The line opens with a soft hiss. On her end, a tissue rustles. I'm listening, she says, voice careful and ready. He pulls a sticky note toward him and draws a triangle while he talks. In the delivery room, I was trying to protect you, protect her, and keep myself from falling apart. He labels the corners. Mom, wife, self. My brain shorted, so I went quiet. I felt that quiet, I say, keeping my tone kind. It landed like distance. I didn't know if you were with me. He nods, and we share what we practiced. Next time, he says into the phone, I'll say, I feel torn. I choose us. I need a minute to ground. There's a breath on the line, he adds, and grounding looks like 2 deep breaths, a sip of water, step to the hallway, then back. He looks at me. I say, and I'll answer, I hear you, I'm here. My husband clears his throat. I also need to name my choice, Mom. I choose my family with my wife first. That's my job now and also my joy. She sighs, not wounded, released. I freeze too, she admits, paper whispering again. Then I grab tight. It's old fear. I'm sorry. He curls a finger around mine. We're learning, he says. All of us. We'd love to keep inviting you in, I add. With some gentle rails. He waits and I can almost hear her nod. I'll try to call my friend in the widows group, she says. She's been asking. That sounds good, he answers. And how about a monthly dinner? Expectations checked at the door. Ground rule? She asks, a hint of smile in it. Ask before advising, I say. Stories welcome. Advice by invitation. Deal, she says softly. We hang up and sit with the new quiet. The mail clatters through the slot like a bird landing. An envelope from the hospital slides across the rug. Birth record copies, a patient survey, and a small card in neat pen from our nurse. Proud of your voice. Wishing you rest. I exhale. I fill in bubbles on the patient survey and write, my nurse helped me speak when speaking felt dangerous. The form asks about timeliness, respect, clarity. I circle excellent and add names where it lets me. Night nurse who slipped me a blue note. Patient advocate who came by and stayed. Lactation consultant with warm hands. In the comment box I write, thank you for quiet interventions that protect patients' wishes. I describe how a small note eased pressure. I mention the doctor who kept everyone calm, voice steady when the air pricked. I think about how systems hold people when people are tired. Forms look boring, but they become bridges. A folded note, a posted policy, a staff member who reads a room. Each thread turns panic into something we can walk across. My husband leans over my shoulder. Can I add something? He asks. He writes, clear visitor policies are kindness, not gatekeeping. They help families honor the patient. He signs his name beside mine. We slide the survey into the return envelope and press the flap. I smooth the crease with my thumb and add a stamp. He pulls on a jacket and heads to the corner box as the light thins. We light closing loops. At the blue box, the metal door thumps and echoes. I picture the envelope traveling through hands I'll never see, landing on a desk where someone will nod and take note. Back inside, the baby wakes with a squeak. We rock and hum, a tune we keep forgetting and then finding. Streetlights blink on. The banner stirs. The lamb nests under a cheek. His breath evens. A tiny train entering a tunnel. Days knit themselves gently. We fold laundry, send photos to Auntie, and read the counselor's triangle taped to the fridge. The house keeps that after-ceremony hush. My ring catches crumbs and sunlight, reminders without weight or worry now. A week stretches and softens. We walk to the maple, practice the counselor's lines, and send the fund packet to 2 elders who prefer paper. May drops off scones. Sleep returns in longer pieces like beads on a string. A week later, the phone lights on the counter. It's my mother-in-law. Just me tomorrow? Her text reads, I have a small box and a letter. I glance at the kettle, already picturing 2 mugs and a clear table, and type back, yes. She arrives alone, carrying a small tin box with a dent in the lid. It was my mother's, she says, standing in the doorway like someone who has walked a long way with careful steps. I clear a place at the table. The kettle murmurs. Sun lies across the runner in a bright band, and the keepsake box waits near the fruit bowl. She sets the tin down. The lid sticks and then yields with a soft sigh. Inside, a cloth-bound diary rests against a sprig of dried lavender and a black and white photo. The lavender breathes a faint field into our kitchen. I lift the photo. A young woman looks back, chin lifted, eyes hopeful, hair pinned tidy beneath a scarf. My mother-in-law touches the edge. She was 21, she says, full of plans. Then life turned into teaching herself to be small. We open the diary together. The spine creaks but holds. The handwriting is careful, slanted, the ink brown to tea. I flip until she lays her finger on a page in late autumn. Read? She asks. I nod. She begins. He is late again. I arrange forks just so, because order lets me breathe. His mother says a wife must keep to rules so a husband keeps to home. I promise myself, when things feel thin, I will make rules. Her voice falters. She clears her throat and continues. Tonight I made 3. No crying at the table. No telling anyone. No asking twice. She closes her eyes. She was lonely, and she thought certainty could be stitched out of fear. We sit with the quiet. The baby dozes in his bouncer, then flutters a hand toward the page, fingers opening and closing. It feels like a tiny blessing, pure reflex and yet something more. I learned the wrong lesson, my mother-in-law says at last. I learned to hold tight instead of open my hands. She looks at me, then at her grandson. I don't want that to travel. I rest my hand over the diary, warm through cloth. It can change here, I say. She nods, gathering courage. Would you consider copying this page into the keepsake box? She asks. So it travels as wisdom, not fear. Yes, I say. I reach for my phone, open the camera, and set the box closer, its lid ready. Lavender lifts and the room feels wider. We breathe together. We bring the keepsake box to the table and open the lid. Inside, tiny envelopes wait like patient birds. I add 3 fresh ones, neat and titled, For When You Choose, For When You're Scared, For When You're Brave. Pens line up beside the sugar bowl. The maple photo leans against the salt. Our son dozes in his wrap on my chest, warm breath blooming on my shirt. I begin my letter for when you're scared. I write that love is not earned. It's tended, like a plant we water even on busy days. Fear can visit, I tell you, but it doesn't get the keys. I add, you can ask for what you need. Ask even if the room is loud. Use a note, a gesture, a whisper to the person who loves you. Good people like clarity. For when you're brave, I write that courage can be quiet. Rings and papers are tools, not tests. They help us remember our promises and open doors when stories try to close them. My husband chooses for when you choose. He writes about listening to your gut and your kindest people. He adds, your no will keep you safe, and your yes will grow your life. My mother-in-law picks up a blue pen. Her hand trembles, then steadies. I will practice letting go and cheering loud, she writes. Then underlines practice. Once. Gently. We tuck in a copy of Grandma's letter, the notary-stamped family note, the fun summary, and the page from the diary. Paper nestles paper, soft sounds like leaves. I slide a photo of the maple beneath them and add a recipe card. Grandma's honey cake, with a grease dot at the corner. The kitchen still holds a whisper of spice. The ring winks on my hand. A small sun. I look at it and think, welcome, not leash. We seal each envelope and date the flaps. Our son sighs, and the wrap rustles like paper. We close the lid and tie the soft ribbon twice. The box settles into the middle of the table. Not hidden, not displayed. Simply ours to steward. The doorbell rings, a bright, homey chime. I press my palm lightly over the box and stand. At the door, our nurse balances a casserole and an easy grin. I live nearby, she says. Just checking on my favorite voice. I step aside and wave her in. Around our kitchen table, the nurse says grace in her own words. May this house always have room for truth and dessert. We bow our heads and smile. Spoons poised and steady. Steam lifts from the casserole, her gift warm and herb bright. Honey cake waits on the board beside a serrated knife and a folded napkin. We eat and talk. I tell her the path, from her blue note in a quiet room to the bank vault and the ledger that named learning as the point. I add Mr. Hale, the signature and the notary, and the ring becoming welcome instead of test. My husband adds the maple, the poem, the way the room breathed. My mother-in-law sets down her fork. Thank you for the note that gave us a safe question, she says, eyes shining. The nurse shrugs and smiles. Women have always passed notes. We laugh, the soft kind. The ring catches lamplight and winks without asking anything of me. The baby gurgles from his bouncer and startles at his own sound, then grins like a small moon. Our nurse listens like a good elder, shoulders dropped, hands open on the table. She asks about our plan when old fears visit, and we share the line we practice. She nods. Blessings make room, she says. Rules make corners. We pass plates and listen for the oven timer. My mother-in-law breathes in and says, I am learning to ask before advising. The nurse clinks her glass and says, then you are already blessing them. The house feels 3 breaths wider. Honey cake cuts into tidy squares, edges sticky with shine. The nurse asks for the recipe, and my mother-in-law turns the scrapbook so the grease dot can point the way. We eat seconds without ceremony, because sugar is a kind of hymn after hard things. After dishes, we stack containers and wrap slices for tomorrow. We talk about bringing a basket to the nurse's station, something practical and sweet. The nurse suggests lip balm and tea bags, and we add thank you cards to the list. At the door, we hug in that careful way new parents learn. We set Friday morning to visit the hospital and carry the basket together. I write it on the calendar, the pen making a pleasant tap, and the house settles as the kettle clicks on. We wheel a small basket of cookies and tea to the nurse's station. The night nurse spots us first and beams. The hallway smells like sanitizer and fresh coffee, the kind that wakes you before you sip. Our son blinks from his stroller like a small owl, then decides to nap through the noise. Look at you, she says, hands tucked to keep from touching without asking. May I? We nod. She squeezes my forearm in that careful, knowing way, and leans to admire the baby's hat. I set the basket on the counter, tins of shortbread, packets of chamomile and mint, a handful of lip balms, and our cards. We brought photos, I add, sliding out a glossy of the maple tree and a snapshot of the cake table, and a note for the binder. She laughs softly. The famous binder, she says, pulling it from beneath a stack of forms. The spine reads kudos in black marker, cheery as a lunchbox. The patient advocate rounds the corner and smiles when she sees us. I remember your boundary sign, she says, tapping her temple. Clear words, calm room. She reads our card in place, lips moving. Boundaries make room for joy, she quotes back, and we both nod. We share a quick update about the ring. In its right place now, I say, turning my hand so the light catches but doesn't show off. Welcome, not test, the nurse grins. Good, she says. Traditions that open doors, not close them. We flip the binder open to a new page. I slide in a spare copy of our thank you letter, the one that names names and the quiet blue note that changed our course. Your quiet care changed our story, I've written at the bottom. The advocate adds a small sticker of a sunflower beside it, unnecessary and perfect. A resident hustles by with a chart. A volunteer refills the sanitizer pump. The printer chatters and rests. Life moves, and we are a small, happy pause within it. We thank the charge nurse and tuck a few tea packets into the break room bowl, because fatigue visits at odd hours. We head for the elevator, the stroller wheels humming on the waxed floor. As the doors slide open, my phone buzzes. An email from the fund administrator sits bold. Beneficiary file confirmed. Welcome packet on the way. Practical threads tie off with a neat knot. We step into the sunlight, feeling lighter, grateful, and very awake. At home, my husband sets a small fireproof box on the table. Let's decide where the ring rests until it's needed, he says, sliding it onto the runner. The metal smells of new coins. Our son murmurs in his bassinet. The kettle ticks toward a boil. I turn the key, and the latch gives with a firm click. Inside, the foam insert waits. I lay out our tools, a pen, the notepad, clips, the folder with Grandma's letter and our notarized note, the maple photo, the fund summary, and today's date on a flag. My mother-in-law settles beside me, light, ready. Stewardship, I say, and he nods. We draft a short entrustment letter. Today we name me, his wife, as steward of the family ring until our child comes of age or family tradition calls for passing it forward. We add that stewardship means safekeeping. Wearing on family days is welcome, and no leverage. We note the fund sits separate for learning. He signs first, then I do. My mother-in-law signs as witness with a playful flourish, grinning. I like this word, she says, tapping steward. It lets love breathe. I slip the ring from my finger, warm from tea and skin, and rest it in the velvet pouch. We lower it into the box as if setting down a candle after a vigil. We tuck in the papers. Grandma's letter, the notarized family note, the fund summary, one maple tree photo, and a copy of the diary page marked, Rules Aren't Love. I write an inventory list on a half sheet and initial the bottom. Ring and pouch, letters, summaries, photos. A paper clip holds it to the underside of the lid where eyes can't miss it. The lid closes. The lock turns. He drops the key into our household lockbox and writes its location in the home binder under Keys and Codes, page tabbed green. I snap a picture of the inventory and text it to Auntie and his mom. For records. Then I add, no more mysteries, I say. Only stories. 3 hearts bubble back, then a thumbs up. We carry the fireproof box to the hall cabinet and lay it flat. Sun slips down the wall like honey. From the bathroom, bathwater begins to run. The baby monitor blinks a green rhythm. I gather a towel and the tiny whale scoop, and the house leans toward evening. The house is dark, except for a nightlight shaped like a moon. Our baby sighs, milk-sweet and drowsy. The hallway holds its breath. The washer ticks once and settles. We ease him into the crib and smooth the sheet with 2 flat palms. I hum the tune the nurse hummed that first night. Soft, unshowy, a little rise and a gentle fall. My husband joins on the second round. Barely a thread of sound. And the room seems to float. On my way back from rinsing a bottle, I pause at the hall cabinet and rest my fingertips on the fireproof lid where the ring sleeps. The metal is cool, steady. It feels like a quiet light in a lighthouse, working while we rest. I think of the women whose hands wore it. Grandma, my mother-in-law, now me, each learning in her time. Rules pretending to be love, then love reclaiming its name. Blessings for opening, not binding. I breathe and return to the nursery. On the dresser, our keepsake box sits beside the fund packet and a half-written thank you card for Mr. Hale. The pen waits, uncapped, a blue comma on the envelope. The maple tree photo peeks from the packet's edge, a green memory of our afternoon. Inside the box, letters rest in their envelopes, the diary page copied and folded, the nurse's quiet courage now a thread stitched into our story. Our son sighs again, cheeks round and warm. I lean close. You are wanted, I whisper. You can ask for what you need. He startles, then drifts, a tiny boat finding the middle of the lake. I touch the crib rail, one finger, as if to bless the wood. My husband sets the monitor on the dresser, the green light steady as a heartbeat. He places his hand between my shoulders, not heavy, just there. We stand for a moment, listening to small breath and the soft engine of the night. In the kitchen, the survey envelope stub lies by the fruit bowl. By the door, the thank you basket list has one unchecked box. Our home binder is closed on the counter. Keys and codes tab bright. Ordinary systems holding ordinary peace. It feels like justice, gentle as tea. We turn off the last lamp. The moon nightlight keeps its watch. In the hall, our steps find the same slow rhythm as the song. Outside, the maple's shadow moves on the wall like water. We lie down, the monitor glows, and quiet gathers around us until sleep arrives.